It's time to make it, just give it a try. 'Cause you can make it like the old fat guy.
I really appreciate you coming to this episode of You Can Make It. Today we're going to make one of my favorite things in the world, which is an apple crisp. I've always loved apple crisp. I like the sweet tart apples and the crispy crunchy top on it. But today I'm going to throw a wrinkle at you. I'm going to use molasses to sweeten the apples instead of sugar or brown sugar. It gives it a really nice taste that reminds me of Halloween and ginger snap cookies, and it's just a different dessert to give your friends, and it's also very easy to make. We're going to start by making the crisp mixture that goes over the top of the apple crisp. I have my stand mixer out with the paddle attachment on it, and I have 1/3 cup or 75 milliliters of butter or margarine. I have 1/2 cup or 125 milliliters of brown sugar. And we're going to start by creaming those two together. We'll just lower the stand mixer down and start it on slow. And slowly pick up the speed. When the two are all combined into a mixture, you can see that it's just formed a nice mixture. We're going to add to it 175 milliliters or 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. And now you really want to go slow for this next little bit or the flour will puff up. Slowly speed it up as it starts to blend in. And you want to mix it until it's crumbly. You want a crumbly, mealy mixture to put over the top of your apples. And there we go. So I'll just show this to you. You can see that we have a nice crumbly, mealy mixture. So I'm just going to get my stand mixer out of the way. I can make more noise if I try. And bring in 5 apples that I have peeled, cored, and sliced that we'll be using for our apple crisp. And I'm just going to mix some sweetener and some spices into those apples. We're going to start by taking 1/3 cup or 75 milliliters of molasses. And we're just going to drizzle it over the apples. Great thing about molasses is it does stick to everything, but it is so tasty. Now that we've got the molasses on the apples, we need to add some seasonings. And we're just going with a very basic apple seasoning, a teaspoon or 5 milliliters of cinnamon, and 1 milliliter or 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And we'll just add those to the apples and mix them around. You just got to get it coating all the apples. So now we've got the apples covered with the seasonings and the molasses. We want to put our crisp mixture on the top. Just spread it over it and press it out so that it's covering all of the apples and you've got a reasonably smooth surface. If you've got any apples like that that show through, just push them under. Now this is going to go into a 350-degree oven for 30 minutes and it'll be just bubbling and beautiful. The molasses apple crisp has been in the oven for 30 minutes, and you want to take it out and let it cool down for at least 5 minutes. 10 or 15 is better. It's even good cold though, so don't worry about it if you want to make it ahead for a meal. Of course, now that we've made it, we've got to try it. So we'll just take a nice little piece of it out here and put it in a bowl. And you can't have a good crisp without ice cream. So we'll just put a little bowl of ice cream on top of that. Get out a spoon and try our molasses apple crisp. The crisp is almost fudge-like. The apples are cooked soft but still have a good bite. And the molasses gives it a really rich, deep sweetness that you just can't get with sugar. I think you'd really like this, and the best part is you can make it.
In this recipe, David prepared molasses apple crisp. The ingredients used were 75 milliliters of butter, 125 milliliters of brown sugar, 175 milliliters of sifted flour, 75 milliliters of fancy molasses, 5 milliliters of cinnamon, 1 milliliter of salt, and 5 apples, peeled, cored, and sliced. For the complete recipe, visit David's blog at oldfatguy.ca. As David says, you can make it. It's time to make it. Just give it a try. 'Cause you can make it like the old fat guy.
Welcome to the latest episode of You Can Make It with David Farrell. Today, I'm going to give you a treat. I'm going to show you how to make something really nice for Valentine's Day, an anniversary, or a birthday for someone you love. You can always go out and buy some chocolate, which is a really nice gift, but why not make your own candies to give to the person you love? It just shows a bit more effort. So today, I'm going to make Brandy truffles. To begin making Brandy truffles, you need vanilla wafers. Vanilla wafers are just a plain vanilla cookie you can buy in the supermarket. You don't want any coating or filling. They're just called vanilla wafers. And we want to crush it into crumbs until we have 500 milliliters or a half a liter of crushed cookies. That's the equivalent of about 2 cups. Now you can use your blender, or you can use a food processor, or you can even put them in a plastic bag and just run a rolling pin over them to make the crumbs. I'm going to use the blender. Now I have my blender set up here, and I just want to turn it on and put it on pulse. And you just want to put about 1 handful of cookies in at a time and just give it a bit of a pulse. And then you just want to put a few more in and give it a second pulse. Now, it doesn't matter if you have some larger crumbs, but you want to stay away from really big ones. So just give it 1 stir around with a spatula and give it a couple more pulses. Once you've done 2 batches like that, you want to dump the crumbs out, because if you do too much at once, it won't grind well. And you keep filling a measure until you've got your 500 milliliters, just like that. So we've made our cookie crumbs. The next thing we're going to have to do is melt some semi-sweet chocolate chips. I have here 85 grams of semi-sweet chocolate chips, which is about half a cup, that I'm going to melt in the microwave. I melted the chocolate in the microwave by putting the chocolate chips in a bowl, putting them in the microwave, and heating them up at high for 1 minute. And then I did it in 20-second increments. Keep doing it until the chocolate gets smooth and creamy like that. So now that it's melted, I'm going to be adding it to 60 milliliters of sour cream and 30 milliliters of almond paste. They're both readily available in your supermarket, and we just want to put the chocolate in with those. There we go. Now, the almond paste can be a little hard, so this can be a little hard to mix, but we'll just slowly blend it in together. Just mash that almond paste. And there we go. They're mixed together. Now you want to take a larger bowl. 500 milliliters of vanilla wafer crumbs go in the large bowl. 190 milliliters of icing sugar. And 40 milliliters of cocoa powder. That's pure cocoa. Do not get the chocolate drink mix. And that goes in there. And we have 125 milliliters of finely chopped pecans. And 95 milliliters of brandy. And we just want to mix those together. You'll note that it doesn't make a creamy type thing. You're just mixing it so that it makes a crumbly mixture. And once you've got it kind of mixed together and it's sort of turned into a pile of crumbs like that, we're going to add the chocolate mixture into there. Doesn't that look rich? I just love the look of chocolate. Dark brown color. The best part of this is you always have lots left in the bowl for licking afterwards, which is a great thing with chocolate. Now at this point, there is nothing that mixes this up quite as well as your fingers. You kind of got to knead it in. So get ready to get your hands really dirty and just fold the crumbs over the top and start folding and kneading. You're going to have to get it all mixed and it's really sticky. It feels kind of gooey and good actually. If you like going to the spa for a mud pack, you'll love this. As you see, as you start to mix it and it gets in, it'll stick a little bit less, but it's still going to be gooey on your fingers. As it gets a little bit less sticky, try turning your bowl a quarter turn and folding it over, and keep going. There we go. Now, scrape as much of it as you can off your fingers. Okay, so we got as much of it off as we can. Now I'm going to do something really terrible. You got to taste it at this point. It's all mixed up. It's perfect. We're just going to put this in the refrigerator half an hour to an hour to let it get firm. The Truffles have been sitting in the fridge for an hour just to get set up, a little less than an hour, about 45 minutes. And you just want to take little pieces of it and roll it into a ball. And those are going to be your truffles. So I've done most of them. We're just going to roll a couple more here. When they're rolled into a ball, you now want to make them look pretty. So I have some different sprinkles here. I have some green ones, so we'll just roll this one in some green sprinkles. And we have some chocolate shot, which is chocolate sprinkles. Just gives a little bit of crunch when you eat them. And we have some multicolored ones. And some red ones. If you're giving these to somebody for Valentine's Day or something like that, the red just gives it a nice color. And once you've got them set up in the shot and the colors, sprinkles, I like to put them in these little fancy cups you can get at the cake section in the store. They just make them look a little fancier. Just like that. Now, I'm giving these to my wife as a gift, so I got a fancy box that says, I love you. So there's the box I'm going to be putting these in. And we'll just put a layer of these in the box. And I left one because we all know you have to try it. So let's give it a taste. So creamy, a little crunchy from the sparkles, and a good hit of brandy, which makes it even the more romantic. So, make up a lovely box of truffles for whoever you love. Brush your hair back, slick it down, look good, and tell them that you made these just for them, and they'll know you can make it.
In this recipe, David made brandy truffles. The ingredients used were 85 grams of semi-sweet chocolate chips, 30 milliliters of almond paste, 60 milliliters of sour cream, 500 milliliters of vanilla wafer crumbs, 190 milliliters of icing sugar, 40 milliliters of cocoa, 95 milliliters of brandy, 125 milliliters of finely chopped pecans, and decorative candy sprinkles. For the complete recipe, visit David's blog at oldfatguy.ca. And as David says, you can make it. It's time to make it. Just give it a try. 'Cause you can make it like the old fat guy.
Welcome to another edition of You Can Make It with the Old Fat Guy. That's me, David Farrell. Today we're going to make something that makes a wonderful side dish for a summer barbecue or a light luncheon anytime. And that is a warm spinach salad. It is absolutely delicious and it's good for you even though it has a bit of bacon in it, but we all need a bit more bacon in our lives. So I'm going to start just by chopping up the stuff I need for my spinach salad. I've got a couple of fairly large mushrooms and I'm just going to kind of julienne them. You just want a rough, coarse cut because you want people to still be able to see them in the salad. There we go. And on the same plate as I have the mushrooms, you can see I've already cut up about 1/4 cup of red onion into some small slices. The other thing I'm going to need is 4 slices of bacon that I'm going to cut up before I cook them. Do not chop the bacon too fine because it shrinks when it cooks and you want people to be able to see chunks of bacon in their salad. So we'll just cut the bacon up into some chunks. And now that I've got the bacon chopped up, I'm going to want to cut up 1 clove of garlic into a just fine dice. And now we're just going to go over the stove to fry up our bacon and garlic. I've had the frying pan sitting over medium heat with a tablespoon or 15 milliliters of olive oil in it for just a couple of minutes to heat up before I put the bacon in. The reason I use olive oil as well as bacon, which will give off a lot of fat, is olive oil adds a nice flavor to the sauce, better than just the straight bacon fat. So we're just about up to heat, and I'll be able to throw the bacon in and cook it until it's just nicely browned. Okay. All right, this is going to take a few minutes to get nice and sizzling. The bacon's been cooking for 4 to 5 minutes, and you'll note it's just starting to get a little bit of that golden on it. Now what we're going to do is add for the last minute or so the 1 clove of garlic to flavor the oil. So we'll just put the garlic in with it, and it's just got to cook for a few seconds with the oil. And you see how nice and golden the bacon is? That means it's ready. So we're just going to take it off of the heat and go back to our work counter. We've got our bacon back at our work area, and we just want to take it out of the fat and put it on a paper towel, just to get the excess fat off the bacon, or it won't stay crispy. So just get all that bacon and garlic onto a paper towel. Once you've got the bacon and garlic on the paper towel, just set it aside to drain for a second, and put a small mixing bowl in your work area, and we're going to take 25 milliliters or 2 tablespoons of the fat and put it in the bowl. So there we go. And to that we're going to add 75 milliliters or 1/3 cup of red wine vinegar and 5 milliliters or 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. So we just pour that into the fat. And then we're going to want to whisk it for a few seconds to just make an emulsion. When it starts to look cloudy, that's when your emulsion is ready. Just like that. So now, I'm just going to bring over 4 cups or 1 liter of fresh spinach that's been carefully washed and dried. It's really important that it's dry, because if it isn't dry, the dressing won't stick to it. So what we're going to do is put the mushrooms and the onions on top of our spinach. And we'll put the bacon on top of that. And we'll put the dressing on top of it all. And then you just need to toss it all just a little bit to get it mixed up. You want to make sure you get all the leaves coated in some of the dressing. And you can try not to make a mess, but I'm sloppy, so what the heck. So once you've got it all coated, guess what? Now comes the best time of all, when you get to try it. So let's just serve some of the salad up onto a plate. You can see I got a little bit of red lettuce in there. That's just because I had some around. Don't worry about it, just do all spinach. You can see it looks pretty on the plate. And let's give it a try. We'll just take a little bit of that, make sure you get some bacon in it. That is so delicious. You have the little bit of tart from the red wine vinegar, the salty, smoky from the bacon, and tender, fresh spinach. What more can you ask for in a great salad? And you can make it.
In this recipe, David made spinach salad. The ingredients are 1 liter of spinach, 2 sliced mushrooms, 125 milliliters of sliced onions, 15 milliliters of olive oil, 4 strips of bacon, 1 clove of garlic chopped, 5 milliliters of Dijon mustard, and 75 milliliters of red wine vinegar. For the complete recipe, visit David's blog at oldfatguy.ca. And remember, you can make it.